Good morning. Oh yeah, a little energy. Good, good. My name is Lynn Madsen, and Ronnie and I would like to welcome you to our service this morning. Please feel free to participate however you are comfortable. For those of you joining us for the first time, let me welcome you and tell you a little bit about our service and our fellowship. We are a fellowship that believes in radical hospitality. That means we welcome everybody, young, old, regardless of ethnicity, sexual orientation, religious background, or physical ability. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived here, in what condition, no matter, we welcome you. And we invite everyone to join us for coffee and conversation right after the service, and that includes those folks on Zoom. And now, if you would all turn and face the camera back there so you could wave to all the other people on Zoom who are joining us today. One way that you can connect with a church and receive ongoing information about our activities here is to use the connection card. You can find those in a clear plastic envelope. Steve has one, Pat has one. They're in the pouches on the backs of the chairs. Or you can ask a greeter for one and drop it in the offertory bowl or after the service in the basket in the foyer. There have been a number of announcements playing on the announcement loop. Those will come on again at the end of the service. And Kathy Lau has a little information for us about chalice lighters.
Good morning. I'm Kathy Lau, and I'm the Chalice Lighter Ambassador. And I'm pleased to share that the Fall Chalice Lighter Call is now open, and this season's recipient is going to be the UU Fellowship of Klamath County. They evidently had a heat pump go out and need a new roof. Sounds kind of familiar. Anyway, they will receive the fall call. If you're unfamiliar with it, the Chalice Lighter program is a powerful way for UUs like us to make small contributions that add up to a big amount that help Pacific Northwest congregations do these kind of improvements. I made a PowerPoint, thought I got it sent, and I've been foiled by technology, so I'm going to have to get maybe a slide out in the announcements. But anyway, you can make your donation it's cascadiauu.org, and you just slide down to the
a circle of friends. Somewhere we can be free. And now if we'll rise in body or spirit and sing our opening song, number 361, we're going to sit at the welcome table and the words will be on the screen. And now it's time to join in our chalice lighting words as printed in the order of service or on the screen. In these uncertain times, we gather to remember who we are, to whom we belong, and what we are called to do. As we light this chalice, we kindle the spirit of the great turning, the movement for justice rising in this nation today. May we feel it in the bones of this gathering, in the stillness of this hour, and may we hear it calling our name. Thank you. Okay, who's a child today? Me. All right, today is called The Circles Around Us, written by Brad Montague. And he is the creator of the hit web series Kid President and Kid Correspondent. So this is the time in our service when we ask people to come up and do their sharing and honoring. We ask that you only share what you have permission to share. And it sounds strange coming from me, but I'm supposed to say you have to be as brief as possible. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. So I'll invite you to come up, say your name, put a stone in the dish as you wish, and I will light. So the title for today comes from a summer reading library theme that was one of Leslie's and my favorite summer reading themes. One world, many stories. If I didn't think I'd be violating copyright, I would have found a way to share some of the beautiful artwork that was done. Children of all races and sizes and abilities and animals. It was the most beautiful artwork. And one of the reasons we loved it so much was because it gave us such vast possibilities for stories and crafts and activities, a way to share cultures, customs, stories from all over the world. And that theme has stuck with me. This has been years. I can't remember what year, but a long time ago, because I've been retired for 10 years. One of the things that I learned, and I think it was during that summer, was, did you know how many cultures have their own version of Cinderella? One source, and I don't know if it was accurate, but it did say scholars have found stories ranging from 300 to 3,000, and the earliest version seems to have come from China and is dated 850 AD. And I've read some of those stories. It's so fascinating that they're all the same. Now, I grew up on the unannotated or unabridged Brothers Grimm, where Cinderella is not always as good as she was beautiful. And let's see, a Middle Eastern and early European versions, like, I don't know how to say this, Basile's Zazola, include the heroine plotting her stepmother's murder. And other versions do restrict all the violence to the stepfamily, which is maybe where we got the ugly stepmother trope. And I remember the one with the iron shoes where they couldn't move. There was death by flying stones, boiling alive, eyes pecked out by crows. I know this is really gruesome. This is very far from the Disney version that many of us and their children grew up with. What is so fascinating about this is how did all these stories that are so similar and yet fit their cultures in other ways, how did they all arrive at this? This was, of course, before any kind of global communication. So it tells me that societies, communities, countries have so many similarities that we don't even realize. We know that we have different cultures. We know we have different ways of doing things, but it's fascinating to me that this all happened when we're so used to now instant communication. Another thing, of course, besides fairy tales are resurrection stories, which I think we all know originated from pagan rituals, and they were often practiced during the spring when things come alive. This is where the Easter egg comes from. Things are getting ready to be born. And of course, Christmas, the date for Christmas was actually chosen to coincide with another pagan ritual. And even our decorating practices at Christmas are also from those times. So, while I was doing this, because I love statistics, and I'll try not to bore you, but I found some definitions of society versus community. So, society refers to a larger, more encompassing entity that involves multiple communities and has a broad geographical, cultural, and social scope. Whereas a community represents a smaller, more localized group of individuals who share common interests, values, and goals within a specific geographical area. But communities around the world have fundamental similarities for the need, including the need for social interaction, belonging, but also exhibit diverse differences in language and social structures. So of course, I do love statistics, and I could have gone on and on. It was quite the rabbit hole researching all the differences and similarities, from celebrating births, honoring deaths. So it's no surprise that we really share more than we might imagine with the rest of the world. And if we were to look down at the world from space, what would we see? We would see land mass and water, but would we see any borders, any boundaries? The John Lennon song, of course, comes to mind. Just what if we were one world? But culture does influence us. The gestures we use when we interact, how far apart we stand from each other. Different countries have their own personal bubble. And so we often think those are very important for our children to learn, because without some kind of culture, would we have a society? And as we make our way through a very uncertain future right now, culture has a crucial role to play in our survival. But as humans, we all have basic needs. We need food, we need water, we need shelter, we need family. Equally important, though, is understanding. To survive, we need to understand our environment, each other, ourselves. We invented culture to meet this need. We found a shorthand to take the essential values and truth a society holds and form them into a narrative with sounds and symbols that mean something to all of us. Religion is something that every culture has found ways to incorporate into their rituals. And some of them are so much more similar than others. But if we all have these same basic needs, please tell me, why have we let ourselves become so divided? What causes us to fear cultures that are so different than ours? As children, we often don't see those differences in the same way and are more willing to accept each other at face value. We've seen so many examples, and I think of one little Instagram reel where pairs of children are asked questions, what makes you different? Well, he likes pie and I like cake, but one child is white and one child is black. Well, one child is disabled and one is abled. Well, she likes her hair in a ponytail and I like my hair in braids. That's what children see. They don't see these differences. But it's the influence of growing up in a culture that's, we have people that influence us that have embraced bigotry and fear. And that influences to be wary and afraid and sometimes violent. And the media does not help. We all have done way too much doom scrolling. I will include myself in that. For some reason, it's a phenomena that happens in cultures to start fearing others unless it is a more open culture. In open cultures, there is more acceptance of differences and less fear of others. These societies have less restrictive norms and are therefore more tolerant. In one statistic I read, there is maybe even a little more crime, but there's more acceptance in more tightly uniform cultures. And that could be a church, that could be a city, that could be a community. These things, these tight cultures seem to be more safe, but you don't have choices. And they're definitely less tolerant of those that are different. And an emotional reminder came to me when I was reading this. My younger daughter, Chelsea, as a little girl, had the whitest blonde hair, just white blonde hair. And it was kind of long. And I picked her up the first day of kindergarten. And I saw her out there running around, having the best time with her new best friend she had never met until that day. Her best friend was named Taffy. And Taffy was a little black girl. We didn't have, the people of color we had in the Aniat Valley were mostly Hispanic. So this was, of course, something people had to talk about. But as those two little kids didn't care. They loved each other from the very minute they met, and they were best friends until she moved away. And I think of that picture of how how that experience did become tainted when people would start talking mostly about Taffy, you know. So being part of a group recently, again, I should say, you've heard about our Afghan support circle. With our first family, I learned a lot about another culture that I didn't know. And as you know, these refugees are people who worked for our government and helped save lives of Americans. Not that that doesn't mean if they didn't, they didn't deserve what we gave them, but we have another family now. And it's been a wonder to me to learn. I feel very grateful that I'm still able to learn. So it's broadened my capacity to appreciate another culture, to be respectful, and not expect anyone to behave like me. These families are just so kind and hospitable. Their love for their children just shines through, and they have a desire to embrace this new country that they are in. And yet, I'm really hoping, and I think they will, retain their own beliefs and cultures, because what a gift. One of the blessings I've had over my life since I retired was being able to travel. And travel is truly a broadening of the mind. We become so insular when we don't realize that there are other things out there. So that has been another blessing in my life that has opened my mind. One of the things that I've been to Nuremberg twice, and one of the things that struck me was the tour guides talking about how they teach about their mistakes in school. They don't hide them, they don't pretend that they didn't happen. So they have this ability to change and grow. So I did do another talk about fearing of others, so this is somewhat related, but again, aren't we more alike than not? We all want family, companionship, stability, love, joy, beauty. We all delight in a baby smile, or a little kitten, or a puppy, or just something wonderful. Warm friendship, delicious food. We also long for security for our family and a desire to create a loving home and environment, to be part of a welcoming community. I don't understand the fear now at my age, but I know at times I did react to that fear more than maybe I don't want to admit. But I have learned, and we all need to strive to learn more about each other and not keep our distance. Then that fear can dissolve. Our language can be a barrier. But as I've worked with many Hispanic people at the library, it's amazing what you can get by with 2 or 3 words here and there and some smiles, open, welcoming. It's just amazing if there's a willingness to communicate. So if we open ourselves up and allow ourselves to learn about other countries and cultures, we can understand the behaviors and customs and feel more comfortable with each other. Widen your circle. Invite others in, learn about each other, and we'll see the similarities and embrace the richness of the differences. What a bland world it would be if we were all the same, or eating the same thing every day, or looking at the same thing. So look at the wall art that we have on the sanctuary, and you'll see that even though they are all a banner, but they're all different. They've all each one has incorporated something special that was special to the person who made it. It's the individuality, but it's woven together. So just like these banners, we'll have a wider tapestry of community if we accept others and if we continue to weave each other's into our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronnie. The offering is an ancient element of worship. The act of giving during the service offertory, regardless of amount, is a spiritual practice that expresses our thankfulness and generosity. This Sunday, we are sharing the plate with CAFE, Community for the Advancement of Family Education. When you make a donation, and you want to make it specifically to CAFE, it should be made out to CUF and have Share the Plate written in the memo. All the undesignated cash will go to Share the Plate. And now, Kathy, will you come up and introduce our guest today?
So I must say, every time I meet somebody that works with CAFE, I am impressed, and it is just amazing the work that they do. And today I have the pleasure of introducing Angelica Garcia Macias. She is the Community Equity Program Coordinator at CAFE. Angelica was born in Wenatchee, but raised in the Rock Island area. She's a graduate of Eastmont High. She has a bachelor's in pre-law and a minor in Chicanx. Studies from Eastern Washington, and she also holds a master's degree in political science with an emphasis in Latino studies from the University of California, Irvine. Angelica comes from an immigrant background, doing farm labor and helping her parents with their, or family with their business. For the last few years, she's worked on continuing her education and teaching at UCI and Cal State Polytech Pomona. Angelica has passions that are true and deep to my heart: labor rights, immigration, immigrant rights, and cultural empowerment. So I would like to invite Angelica up here to give us a little bit more information about CAFE.
Hello everyone, thank you for welcoming me this morning. Thanks Sarah too for welcoming me at the door. Yeah, I've been working for CAFE now for a year. I just came back after graduating at UCI. It's been a real pleasure to work in CAFE, work in community, work not only with CAFE but other organizations in the area. But yeah, CAFE is, if you haven't heard, is a nonprofit in the area. We help with education opportunities for different intergenerational needs, whether it's ESL, whether it's computer literacy, for those who maybe never don't even know how to make an email, things like that, right? But we also have tutoring programs, summer programs for kids, really trying to close the gaps that, we still see those barriers in our community today. We also assist with their at-risk youth with the YES program, which is our youth empowerment support program. Here we have spaces of joy where we try to do cultural empowerment through artwork, such as having the Lowrider program. That's something relatively new that we've been having in our organization. We also help our community through the hardest of times, especially those who have SUD or substance use disorder, try to find them transportation to detox centers, and also doing environmental justice works through connecting them through language accessible courses for community rights. So I think I really liked Ronnie's talk earlier, how we're disconnected to our land, but also disconnected to the geography, right? And so that's one way that we can connect communities that have had to leave their homes through immigration for work, whatever instability, right? Get them to be familiar with the geographies that are local and understand what it means to live in a fire-prone area. So those are the many things that we do at CAFE, and then all the other special projects that we do to protect our farm workers through education, through their labor rights, and also hopefully having access to protection gear for the heat, for the winters, and also for the smoke, right? And so, like I said, I'm very honored to be welcomed here in your space. We're always collaborating with different organizations, and like I said, we're so grateful to Kathy and Jerry, and many of the other faces that are familiar, Ronnie as well, and other Kathy, for assisting with the tutoring program. Those are some of the things that have really been helpful. But if you have any questions, if you want to be more involved. I also have my business card in the back. I have the General Cafe business card in the back, and also some of the different resources that we provide to our community. If you're interested in participating in any sort of way, we always welcome community members to, have that family-like connection with Cafe and other organizations that we work with. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelica. So you're offering today to support the ministry of this church and to assure the health and the future of our communities, both inside these walls and in the wider community, will now be received. We are blessed by your generosity. May these gifts make a difference in our communities through the ministries of this church. And now, if you will rise and sing with us our closing hymn. And I forget the name. Come sing a song with me. It's your benediction.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. I need a keeper, a helper, an aide. So I'm going to end with this benediction by George Odell. Spirit of life, we need each other. We need one another to sit together in the dark when the electricity is out and the wind is howling. We need one another to wade through the water with nothing but an old canoe and the will to save as many lives as possible. We need one another to help tear down our moldy, rotten walls and begin to put up new ones in the house that our grandfathers built. We need one another when the sky clears. And yet we are still so filled with stories that if we don't tell them to someone else, we might hurt ourselves. We need one another to make us laugh on the first good day in a long while. And we need one another so that when our own little spring of hope dries up, there is a community well from which we can drink that will keep us going until the thirst is over, the worst is past, and we are able to survive even when the rains come again.
Now, if you will join me in the chalice, saying the chalice extinguishing words printed in your order of service or on the screen. We have come to the end of our service, but not our calling in the world. We close our time together with the humble reminder that justice and equity are our spiritual practices to embrace. Each day, every day, we are blessed to be the embodiment of what is possible. When justice and equity ground us in all that we do, we may go forth with the light and warmth of our chalice in our hearts until we are together again. And now it's our custom to form a circle around the perimeter and sing a closing song.
Light the flame.